There we go. All right. Let's see. Every time I put it down, it keeps chopping my head off. Let me get back here. What's going on? I'm gonna lean forward a little bit like this. Okay. So, what's up, everybody? Finally making another video. Take a little break. As y'all know, I've been working overtime. My dog's working overtime right now as well. But so, yeah, I've been working overtime in pursuit of this daggone profession in governance, risk, and compliance, also known as GRC. So I'm here in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. I was feeling my swag today. You know, I put on the paint with my African garb, I guess you could say. You know, it's not really specific to a region or anything. I got it from a brother, you know, that makes beautiful stuff. So feeling my swag today, you know. But anyway, um, to review the week. A lot of things have been going on during the week. Of course, in my development in my career, it's been super cool, and I've been learning that the main thing that we need to work on as you're developing a cybersecurity career is your communication skills and your ability to effectively uh, create solutions that can solve business needs. All right. So what I mean by that is really cool to get a whole bunch of data and analysis and to see a lot of small granular details about what is going on. But when it boils down to it, your manager, your CISO, they need to be able to report to the board or just to even run the SOC, right? They need pertinent information that is actionable. So, a great deal of my job currently is data analysis, but also business analysis and coordination with cross functional teams to accomplish remediations for potential. Uh, potential vulnerabilities. And in that process, I'm learning that English is right. Well, I'm not learning this, but I've always said that English is pretty simple language. You know, you say what you mean, and the words that come out of your mouth have to be accurate and relevant. Right? I come from a background of being an air traffic controller as well as quality control and utility construction of utility scale wind turbine projects. So I'm very precise with the words that I use. Oftentimes, when I get relaxed, I used a lot of fillers and uhs and a lot of slang because I am still Southern, right? And I just really enjoy uh, my persona, right? I've been me for years and I love it, right? However, when you are communicating in corporate environments, you have to be very succinct and accurate with your verbiage. So that's why it is important for people to learn the English language. If you are getting into cybersecurity, you need to learn how to speak English. You need to open up those soft skills, as they say. Right? We did an event, or there was an event hosted by Ag First, the company I'm currently doing my internship with, and it was called the $1 Million Meal. And at first, I wasn't going to go. I'm looking at the bird over here under the bush, but at first, I wasn't going to go because I figured I had already learned etiquette from attending West Point and learning, you know, how to eat as a plebe there, table manners, and all of that nature. The Marine Corps, not so much, didn't really teach you table manners. They just taught you efficiency and how to eat, right? So when they described what the program was going to be about, I thought that it was pretty cool. They were going to give us etiquette classes on how to uh, dine properly, and they were going to be providing a three-course meal. So, of course, everyone in the internship was saying, "Yeah, we're going to go," because everybody's hungry every time. every time you have interns, just know that everybody is hungry at lunchtime, right? Uh, so I went. I noticed that some of the other brothers were going that were in the internship as well. So great to see them there as well, and glad that they decided to participate because again, it's optional. And I'm sure people had things on their schedule, but I had to make some prioritization, uh, you know, decisions. Right, I had to prioritize some things and decide that I was going to go to the $1 million meal. So the first thing that she opened up with, Miss Kathy, I can't recall her last name right now, of the Charleston Etiquette School, right? Super cool. She's working with she says she's going to be working with the president and the NSA on teaching people how to dine properly anywhere they may find themselves in the world. So I'm sure she's going to be working with some covert agents and stuff like that. That's going to be super cool for her, you know. But either way, she was able to teach us the proper etiquette for dining, and I did not know the difference between American dining and intercontinental, or excuse me, continental or international dining, right? So I'm accustomed to, because, well, at West Point, for one thing, they taught us what would be considered American dining. So, you hold your fork in your left hand, your knife in your right hand, at the spindle, and you cut against the back of the tines, right? Cut off your portion, you put your knife down, and then you switch your fork over from your left hand to your right hand. At West Point, they used to have a square off the corner, right at 90 degrees when you were a plebe. And you would take your bite that should not take no more than 10 chews, and the upperclassmen would count our chews. They would watch our jawline move and call us out if we took over 10 chews. So she taught us that in social settings, 22 chews is an appropriate amount. She said that so the amount of food that you have in your mouth wouldn't be visible while you're responding to someone. At West Point, we were taught 10 chews because if you were at a formal dinner and someone asked you a question, you should be able to swallow that bite almost immediately and respond. Considering that you might be speaking to upper echelons of command, you might be speaking to commanders of divisions and generals and such. So no one wants to wait for you to finish chewing, right? So that's how we were taught. From there, Uh, so that wasn't abnormal, right? Most people were able to get it done in about 20 chews. And I found that very interesting, and it's very convenient that someone will pick up on that if they are well versed in etiquette, right? So either way, American style is where you switch over your fork to your right hand and you eat. And you put your fork back down and you chew. Also in American, we're allowed to put our hands in our lap in between bites, or, while resting. But in intercontinental, you rest with your hands on the edge of the table like that. Uh, and they said, based on when people used to be armed, that if you didn't trust anyone, or when they put their hands under the table, that that might suggest that they're reaching for an arm. So you keep your hands, not your elbows, not the forearm, but you keep the seat of your palm rested on the edge of the table. And in intercontinental, you can keep the knife in your hand while you're eating, right? So that's what I normally do. You cut off the bite from the portion, right? And then you have your bite, you eat like that, and you just keep going. And so then they taught us about the resting positions, where you can put the knife with the blade in, the fork with the tines up, pointed at a 4 o'clock position that says you're resting. If you're done, it moves a little further up in the plate. Same thing with American. They showed us the plate settings, all that stuff. So I could give you the whole etiquette class, but however, I thought it was super cool. Even with soup, right? They were teaching us the difference between the different utensils, which I knew most of them, but to have them actually explained and how they're presented was super cool. So we were presented with a 3-course meal. She said it would be the same for a 7-course meal. We learned the difference between cold fish forks and uh, hot fish forks, and salad forks, and uh, fish knives and uh, like the butter knives and how to properly take bread and how to pass bread and offer bread and move it around the table. And same thing with salts and other things. And so it's super cool to learn that etiquette. And she was just saying how important it is for, and I'm intentionally trying to say the T's in important, right? But so she was telling us how important, now I'm getting relaxed, how important it is to uh, be able to communicate effectively at a meal because that's where everyone is relaxed and you build a certain amount of decorum uh, and a certain bond that you just don't get from other activities you might be doing with other people. So dining is a very intimate activity to share with someone. And when someone can dine in a manner that is respectful and efficient for everyone, uh, it opens up more space for the networking and for the actual connection, right? And some people may not see the importance in that, right? But when you are sitting with someone and you're dining and they're slopping all over the place, throwing stuff everywhere, crumbs going everywhere, it is pretty unnerving, right? So um, it's cool, you know, you have to understand the customs of where you are and also who you are dining with. But if you want to step into different levels of life, right, you need to know how to dine. And this is me after 20 years of being an adult and just moving around the world. I've started off from West Point, dining at very high levels, as well as the circles that I just moved in after that. You know, we used to go to Chops all the time in Atlanta. And, you know, anytime you're spending over $1,200, $1,400 on a meal, you know, to dine with friends and family and business partners, well, I'll tell you at another time what I was doing at that moment. But, you know, we hosted meals often. You know, we would say, meet us at Chops, meet us at Buena Brazil, meet us over at, I don't even remember the restaurants now, you know, but we would tell them to meet us. And of course, you're expected to pay for it. And of course, there's decorum and, you know, things come out in courses. And uh, even still, you have to understand who your audience was, right? And what the context of the meeting was and everything. So, yeah, super cool. Awesome thing. Shout out for Ag First for putting together that experience. It was incredible. They also covered the farm tour, and I wish I had more coverage of this. I might have a few pictures, but unfortunately, I broke the phone that I had those pictures on. But they put together a farm tour so that interns or employees of the bank can understand what the end user of our product, which would be the farmer, right? The ones that are able to get the loans through our associations, what those loans mean to them, not only in operational needs, but in how they run the farm. And how they run the farm is how we feed America, right? So, an extremely important mission. And I'm super proud to be part of it because, you know, I just spoke with the CIO the other day, Mr. Ciambroni, and when I spoke to him, he asked me, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "A farmer." Right? And if you haven't seen Green Acres, one of my favorite songs, shows, you know, but you know, guy leaves his city life and moves to the country and starts his farm, and that is my ultimate dream right now. I really want to get rid of this and get a farm, right? Because I just believe in the sustainability of, you know, being able to feed your family, your community around you, being a good steward of the earth. Um, and as you get older, you know, like these projects become things that I think become very important to you. You know, your life's work, what you're going to leave behind, and things like that. And I want to plant trees now that I'm not going to, you know, rest under the shade of, you know, but I'm going to plant my own oak trees in my own row of, you know, oaks with Spanish moss hanging off of them next to the Congaree River. Like, that's what I'm doing right now. That's everything that I'm doing right now. So, uh, either way, the point is farming is super important to life. It's just us. It's us as people. We have to be connected to the land, to uh, each other, to our food. It just gives you a greater respect of what you're consuming. And not only that, but it's just healthy, especially when you know that you can pasture raise your chickens and your pigs and your cows, and you can forest your pigs and your turkeys, and you can have geese and you can have ducks and create this whole ecosystem. So one story that I love about Claude Monet, famous painter from France, right? And when he was in his early years as an artist, right? So in his 20s or so, he was renting this house, had a few acres. I want to say it was about 10 acres, something like that. And as he, painted and worked and lived there, he started experimenting with gardens, right? He just started planting gardens everywhere. And he developed these areas to where he became very involved in the local community as far as sharing seeds and finding out the different native species and how they interact with each other and the soil and everything. So he was very connected with the local community as he grew this garden. And so into his 30s, he started getting more famous. So he was getting larger commissions that had him traveling out of the country and all over the place. But as he came back, I want to say in his 40s, he became successful, had his money, he was able to buy the same place that he rented. And so he continued his efforts in planting his gardens all over the place up until his last project was a Japanese water garden where he wanted to put a bridge over a water pond with koi fish in them. And he had to petition the government of Paris, I believe, for the ability to introduce this exotic species to France, right? So uh, the whole point of this is that this is 20, 30 years of him cultivating a piece of land. And he spent the next 25, 30 years painting that landscape. And that is what we know Monet for. All of the paintings that he painted, for the most part, were scenes that were depicted from actual gardens that he planted himself. He did not imagine those landscapes. So that's the beautiful part of Claude Monet's work. That's what I'm working on right now. Not saying that I'm an artist, but I am extremely uh, drawn to being a good steward of the earth. It's right there in the first book of Genesis, So um, that's my goal. That's my mission. The world is crazy as it is right now. Just want to make sure that my children have a good place to grow up, call home, can come back to, and yeah, and provide for the community, right? So in that pursuit, I pursued a career in cybersecurity specifically, so I would be able to stay closer to home, be able to make the income that I would need to support my efforts in growing the farm, especially in the first 5, 6 years, right? I mean, the farm's just not going to support itself. I'm probably going to be putting out more money than I'm going to be bringing in. Uh, operation costs, equipment, just getting broken in, right? Just getting things started is going to be a lot. So the goal is to get the land, get a double wide on it that's big enough for everybody to be in, like brick it in, lay it in, all that good stuff, get it all fancy. And right now I'm looking at 28 acres on the Congaree, so that's the dream, right? So, but what I'm getting to is communication is a big part of being able to open up some extra doors for you. That etiquette class was amazing because it's going to allow these young people that went to that class to be able to communicate in a different environment than they may be accustomed to. Um, because you will have those meetings, right? You will have those events that you get brought to. And you need to have the wherewithal, the social awareness to understand that you are being watched. People are watching you, and they're watching how you eat, and they're watching where you place the fork when you're done with it, and they're watching everything. They're watching. I'm not saying this to make you paranoid, but they are watching. They notice, especially if someone is refined, they notice. And if they do notice you displaying that etiquette, it puts you in a different category in their mind. So pay attention to the small things. That's what I've learned throughout all my years through West Point, military, running my own businesses. What else? In safety and in the construction field. Um, pay attention to the details. Everybody wants to glaze over the details and get the general thing done. But when it boils down to it, you can't effectively communicate a general idea, right? You need to baby step everything out. We just built flowcharts the other day, and I had never worked with swim lanes, right? Our senior analyst told us, he was like, hey, you should use swim lanes to map out this workflow. And I was looking at my coworker like, yo, what? I've never, what's a swim lane? Google, what is a swim lane, right? Use swim lanes. We came out with this awesome document I'm proud of so far, at least of as a first draft, right? But it was able to where we had 5 steps with sentences in between, and he kind of explained how we need to break it down. There shouldn't need to be a sentence explanation. It needs to be a yes or no, decision branches, all that stuff, right? Um, it took some effort. It wasn't just put this bar here, that bar there. It's thinking about who the stakeholders are and what their responsibilities are during the process, and how does that get communicated? How does it get executed? How does it get documented? And how does the process continue to move along? What happens at this point? So that's what I do in GRC. I think it's super cool. A lot of people that are asking about how to get into cybersecurity, I find this to be an incredible way to get into cybersecurity if you have a naturally inquisitive mind, uh, and you just really like to dig and research and analyze. If that's what you like to do, this is really a good field for you as a governance and risk analyst. So you might see that listed as a risk analyst. You might see that listed as a GRC specialist. You might see this listed as what else have I seen? An information security specialist. You really just have to look into the details. And I think the most success that I had with being able to find this position in particular was that I started looking by frameworks. And so look for NIST, NIST, right? Outside of that, you're going to learn there's a lot more frameworks than NIST. And as you start working with those different frameworks, you're going to see that there's different levels, there's different divisions of NIST, right? We're currently working on NIST 853, which I hadn't heard of until I started working in this internship. And 853 is more about the security controls that are in place for maintaining a security framework for the organization. So most of us learn, I think, 811, and you know, I think I became familiar with 882 for industrial controls. Um, but when you're actually looking at implementing those controls, now start to see and understand the process of there's an audit, there's findings, there's meetings about the findings, there's assignment of the findings, remediation. Can we remediate? Yes or no? In addition to that, there's an SLA, service line agreement or a level agreement for how long that can take, as well as what we have in our information security cyber plan, right? Our security plan, as far as a guideline for the organization. How long is it going to take us to get this done? How many resources are going to have to be deployed to complete this remediation? Of course, the timeline, right? So there's a lot of consideration that goes into compliance with an audit, whether it be internal or external, or like you're just seeking an attestation, and you hire a third party to come in and evaluate your status or your posture. So, excuse me, I'm feeling stuffy. But without getting too drawn out, right, I'm just learning that it's a lot more about the communication. Of course, you have to have some technical skills to be able to do some work on your own, to maneuver in their environment, to get around, um, just to be competent, right? So the cool thing is, I have my Security Plus, and I think I'm one of the few in the office that have the Security Plus. So it's like now I'm able to add value in just being aware about what security is, right? And that's really what Security Plus is a general awareness of what cybersecurity is and should be, and what things need to be in place. And what you're going to learn as you get into the field is the, the practicality of implementing certain solutions, right? There may be a reason why you're not using DLP at the moment. There might be a reason why you're not using DMARC or DKIM at the moment. And just because you learned about it and you understand that it should be applied in this instance, you have to think about the other business operations that may be affected by implementation of uh, this solution, right? So you'll understand that things take time. They take a lot of meetings. Uh, they take a lot of communication efforts in order to get to an action, right? To remediate the vulnerability, potential vulnerability, or the finding. So that is essentially what GRC is like coordinating that effort. And um, aside from that, what I'm really just trying to tackle Network Plus right now. So I have a study plan for my second attempt at the test, and I have to say I've not devoted much time to it right now. I've really just been focusing on working and eating and sleeping. I have times like this right now, Saturday morning, where I am focusing more attention on communicating more with the world, right? Because it's cool that people think I have something that is worth listening to. I keep having a lot of individual one-off conversations that are, I think they're super fruitful, but at the same time, as I'm getting busier, I have to manage my time more efficiently. And I would love to reach out to more people, because there are so many people that are trying to crack that nut, as I call it, trying to crack that nut of getting into cybersecurity and or IT in general, right? Like they're just saying, "Hey, I want to work with computers." That's like step one and awesome, right? And I love to have that 30-minute to an hour long conversation talking about your excitement about this and that and everything. And I definitely was there, right? And as you get further and further into it now, I have to start protecting my time more, right? Because now I'm going to go on a morning date with Mrs. Canty, and we're going to go down to Soda City, show up and show out, right? I got the lemon pepper steppers on, bam, looking like a king, right? So, uh, but yeah, what I'm saying is I do want to become more extroverted, right? I'm getting over this thing about posting material, whether it is perfect or not, whether it's edited or not. I know that I just have to get the message out. This thing will get refined as I do it more and more. And that's just life, right? You just have to take the first step and do a few things. So I know I have plenty of other videos that I could post up here. I have plenty of ideas for videos that I would like to post about. If you have questions about my journey into cybersecurity, I am currently in month, what is this, June, right? This is June. So I'm in month 9 of transitioning from working as a wind turbine technician, major component exchange lead type deal, um, working on wind turbines, and right um, into working in cybersecurity. So this is 9 months in, y'all, and I'm telling you, you can only cram so much information into such a condensed amount of time. And I kind of felt myself burning out about last month, finally, when I got the internship, and I realized that with the pay cut I was taking from having to quit my job working on the road, that I was going to have to take a second job. And, it's just like I testified to my church a few weeks ago, is that, you know, uh, God puts you in the right places where you're supposed to be at the right time, and He opens up doors for you that you're supposed to have the courage to step through, right? Especially if you have the faith in Him. And like when I talked to my brothers at church about it, and I said I got faith in myself, and I'm willing to bet on myself, he said, "No, it's whether you believe in Him and whether you have faith in Him." And I know I do, right? So when you express the desires of your heart, He already knows you and the desires of your heart, right? He already knows that. So all you have to do is be very clear. This is what they talk about in all the stuff about Think and Grow Rich, and what's the other one they talk about, manifesting everything, the secret, all that stuff. I can't remember what the books are called right now, but when they're talking about manifesting and everything, they're talking about creating a dissonance between you and what you wish to obtain, accepting that dissonance, and then speaking affirmations from the position of having. That's what they call praise in advance. At least in the church, at least in the church that I grew up in, right? You praise Him in advance because of all the things that He has already done for you, the way that He is already blessing you, the way that He's going to continue blessing you as long as you seek first the kingdom of God, and the rest of these things shall be added unto you. That's real, right? So you just recognize His glory, you give Him praise. Like you wake up in the morning shouting His praise, you go to bed at night shouting His praise, all throughout the day you shout His praise. You thank Him for the adversity, you thank Him for the journey, and like when you take that position of I believe in Him, through Christ all things are possible. You feel me? So like when you just allow yourself to have that faith, if you don't have it on yourself and you put it in Him, and you know that He'll see you through every time, I promise you, He'll pull you through every time. And this from my past, this is just from life, right there. I always knew God, but didn't have a very close relationship until I decided to step into more of a authoritative position in the church and start exercising the keys of the priesthood and everything. And just seeing the battle of good and evil that's out here in the world. While I talk about cybersecurity a lot, I'm really just telling y'all how to navigate life. I can't tell you how to navigate your own life, right? But I've always seen life as navigating the ship through the ocean. It's not always going to be straight. Sometimes you're going to have to navigate by the stars. Sometimes you're not going to have wind at your back. You know, Sometimes it's going to be storms. You got to navigate, bro. Like, you can't just lay down and say, "Oh, woe is me. This is the world I'm living in. I'm oppressed." Or, "Woe is me. I didn't have this opportunity. I can't do it." And it's like, no, you got to navigate. That's it. It's super simple. You got to get from point A to point B. They're going to map the stars, set your sextant, set your route, and go. Period. That's it. So I hope that y'all found some value in this. I'm gonna try to keep it short, right? I'm gonna upload this, and as I continue to develop this content more, right, I'm gonna figure out better ways. But at least I found a time here. I think that I'll be able to capture every week. So I'll be able to go every week, I believe, for at least an hour or so, where I can put out some information, get a lot of stuff together. As I see what you guys are responding to more, what I can offer more value with, um, I'll be able to start tightening things up. However, I just wanted to introduce myself to the public, right? This is Making Clouds right here, right? Because anything that you want in life is true, is possible, it's yours. You need to proclaim it, go possess it, right? And it doesn't just come by professional faith, right? Faith without work is dead. You heard? So faith without work is dead, and you got to put in the work. If you come into cybersecurity, you're in the right spot. I don't have all of the information, but I know some incredible people that are putting in amazing work, right? And we can get you tied up with the right people. Whether you want to do tech sales, you need to talk to Troy Buckcoat with careers or coursecareers.com. Sorry, I'm going to chop all this stuff up, add the links in below and everything. But I took the course. It's an amazing course, amazing bang for your buck. If you want to break into tech sales, that will give you the foundation for what you need to do to have these conversations with these people. Like I was telling you, your communication skills need to be on par, right? And Course Careers is going to give you the ability to understand what you're talking about as you're trying to open up these cold calls or cold contacts and move them towards an appointment, right? That's going to be your job. More about that later. Also, if you want to follow guys like Antoine Wade at Black Heights, just amazing amounts of content about tech sales, as well as just ladder climbing, as he calls it, progressing in your career. He has a super informative Discord and Patreon that, I mean, just this is the group that really started kickstarting the way that I started moving in cybersecurity, not just the information that I was going to learn or the courses or certs that I was going to obtain, but how to move, right? This is where I got started with WGU, and you see other brothers in there killing it, getting degrees all over the place. And you got guys, uh, man, Gerondin, uh, I'm Malik Gerondin, there you go. We got Malik Gerondin coming out of that group, just doing amazing. He's been an inspiration to me, and I'm so sorry I stumbled on your name, brother. But I'm trying to remember everybody as I can right here. Who else? You got Kevin Apollinario. If you're not following him on LinkedIn and YouTube, he will help you out on getting into IT, especially into help desk and IT support. You know, uh, we'll talk more about the routes of getting into IT, and very blessed that I've just had amazing resources like these guys to learn from. Who else you got? AO. Um, his name is escaping me right now, but I just watch him bring on so many people in tech that look like you and me, right? That are just killing it right now. And I'm young, successful, smart, sharp, just bringing on amazing talent, right? And then you have earn your leisure guys that'll get you more into the business. And I'm gonna tell y'all, as you're trying to develop yourself, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, right? And you just have to learn how business works, especially if you're young, right? So everybody needs to learn how business works. Go learn how business works. And when you have your spark of inspiration, you'll have the network, you'll have the confidence, you'll have the skill set behind you, you'll have a framework that you understand that you'll be able to replicate, right? Do not go out here and try to freaking burn feet saying, I'm going to start my own business, I'm going to start my own business. Do not do that for your whole 20s, 30s, and then find out that it was more difficult to run a business than you thought, right? Go get some experience, get highly specialized, and I'm telling you, just these few resources that I mentioned, and the more conversations that we have, you're gonna see that is super cool. This is a super cool industry to be a part of. The opportunities is going to open up in your life. Not only am I talking about uh, in your career, I'm talking about in your life. I'm talking about having abundant life, right? That's what I'm here for. I'm here for abundant life, right? So, um, man, the light is shining on me, right? So I guess that's going to be my sign to go ahead and wrap it up, right? But I hope that everybody stays blessed as you continue in your journey. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them below. And until then, y'all continue to progress, move forward. Anything that you're facing as a challenge, overcome that. And this is Mark Scantay. I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.